Welcome into another exciting edition of Inside Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here on WyomingAthletics.org and ESPN powered by Sidearm Sports. I'm Jason Griefer, Wyoming Assistant Athletic Director Jeff King joining us, as always, to talk all things Cowboys athletics. One of the things we want to talk about first before we get into the individual programs, Jeff, is now we have information about what's going on this summer as far as athletic camps on campus at Wyoming for the kids to come out and really get involved and really start to build things up over the summer. Take us through it.
Yeah, we have several different camps from boys and girls soccer, boys and girls basketball, football, volleyball, tennis going on this summer, which we're really excited about. It's a good opportunity to get our youth involved, as well as some of our high school athletes get to train, some of the youth athletes and help coach them up. So we're trying more and more to build our youth programs. We know that the success starts really early in sport programs nowadays if you want to keep up. So the best that we can do to, drive that is what we're going to do. And the summer camps is a really good way to get the youth programs involved.
And that information is right on the front page of WyomingAthletics.org right now. So if you've got a youngster that wants to get involved, all the information is right there, dates and the ability to register, all there on the front page of WyomingAthletics.org. So a really good opportunity, again, to get some really good training from some excellent student athletes at Wyoming High School. Speaking of which, let's start talking about some of your teams here, and let's begin with your baseball program. And we talked last week about the importance of the series with Taylor coming up and how that could really set things up for you, and obviously how strong of a program Taylor is, and we touched on that as well. Team was able to earn a split in that series, winning the first game 9-2. Taylor returns the favor, getting the second one 5-3. We look at the way this schedule's shaking out right now, kind of at the midway point of the season, and you're going to get two big ones this week against Marymount. Marymount's kind of another team that's eyeing a potential league title this season. Obviously, your team wants to get back in the hunt and try and repeat. Since we're at the midway point, kind of looking toward the second half of the season, is there any added importance on this two-game set with Marymount if you want to try and get back up towards the top? Because you've got 5 teams sitting in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously want to take it a game at a time, but for us, if we can get both of these against Marymount, that would be huge. That's a super tall task. We got a lot of good baseball teams playing right now in the CHL, and that's really being evident as you look through the league and see what the scores are. Splitting with Taylor is great with a great program like they are. We went up to Prasco Park and played them for our home game there on Saturday, so it's a nice little experience playing at a nice ballpark there. But that's a tough loss. Hoping that we can build up a little bit off of the first win that we had there. And then also Friday, we were able to actually squeeze in a game against the Cincinnati Trailblazers and win on a walk-off. So that was, that's a good confidence builder. Get through the weekend, hopefully bounce back after that tough loss and play a really tough Marymount team coming up, going towards the back half of the schedule.
Softball kind of in a similar boat here. They had a 2-game set with Taylor this past week, and to put it mildly, it didn't go well for your team. And that's not just a slight on your team. That's how good Taylor is. And Taylor looks like they're steamrolling towards a league title this year, and maybe beyond that. Who knows? But they took it to you pretty good. But if we look at the way the schedule shakes out, your softball team's also going to get Marymount this week and also one against Deer Park. And those two pitching staffs for those teams have been giving up a ton of runs on the season on both sides, and they've really been struggling in that regard. And but you also have a game against Madeira coming up on Friday, and they're just sitting right above you as far as the league standings go. But focusing on the two against Marymount and the one with Deer Park, assuming we're able to get them in, how are you and the coaches expecting the team to respond with the bats this week, knowing that Taylor pitched so well against you, and now you're going to get a chance against two teams that are really struggling with the pitching?
Yeah, playing a team like Taylor with how good they are on the mound, those were really 2 hard games. We still went in with great confidence. We made some good plays. Natalie Barth is doing a good job on our mound and defensively. We saw Vanessa Rosander make a heck of a play in the field against Taylor. We started off with some good things. It's just a tough team to keep going and score runs on. So we hope that we can bounce back after that, knowing that we can put up a lot of runs. We can do a great job on defense. We got the 2 of Taylor out of the way, playing really tough competition there, but playing Mariemont's going to be a tough task. Like you said, hopefully we're able to get these in. Hopefully Mother Nature kind of cooperates with us a little bit this week. But we're still excited about where they are. Those girls are playing really tough, and they still do have a great confidence about them, even after playing, 2 really tough games against Taylor.
Look at the way the offense has been playing on the season. And going into that, Taylor said they had scored more than 10 runs in 5 straight games. Obviously, that didn't happen against Taylor because of how good Taylor's pitching staff is. Are the coaches kind of looking at that as kind of an outlier that, hey, this is not our offense? We just ran into a buzzsaw of a pitching staff.
So you do a little bit, right? Because we know how good Taylor is, but then it's also like, we don't want that to be an outlier. We want to be competing with them every single year. So we've talked about things towards the future about what we want to do to practice against, getting better against such tough pitching like that. Because here's the thing, you not only are going to have to face that in Taylor, but we know once you get to the postseason, you're going to run into teams that have really good pitching as well. So there's different things that we want to improve on with that, but it's definitely a good building block coming forward. And those girls, like I said, they still have a great confidence about them moving forward in the league and towards this back half of the schedule.
Switching gears, let's talk about your tennis program. And they've got a pretty busy week this week, again, assuming that the weather cooperates. And it looks like today, Monday, might be the biggest threat of all as far as getting some things in. But 3 league matches in a row to start the week before the Coaches Classic over the weekend. So they're going to be playing a lot of tennis here coming up in the final regular season push. What are the coaches looking for the team in this week, and in particularly at the Coaches Classic?
Yeah, I mean, we played a lot of tennis last week too, thankfully, which is great. We had some really great showings. Mark Keller is really coming on. We had a great doubles match with Thompson Blade and Conlad, and those guys are really playing tough tennis. And we know that this week, just playing match after match after match going into the Coaches Classic is going to be a great warm-up going into the weekend to play those. And towards the end of the season, tennis comes fast and it ends fast. So you have to be ready to play matches pretty much every single day, especially with how the weather's been. So the coaches are excited about where they're at, and there's no better way to get ready for the postseason than just to play really tough matches.
Yeah, Finneytown, Marymount, Madeira, scheduled trip across the border to take on Covington Catholic later on in the week. They're always a strong program in Kentucky, so a really good litmus test to find out where this program is and where it can be going into the postseason for sure. So keep track of that, folks. A lot of stuff going on with tennis this week. Let's talk about your track and field programs. And they were both up at Lakota West this past week, and a rather respectable showing for both finishing 7th overall as a team on both the boys and the girls side there. I think around 20 teams were involved on both sides of things. So really good showing there. A lot of podium finishes for your runners and your field athletes there to boot. And so, a lot of Division I programs there. So you really took a step up as far as the quality of competition. I think at a good time late in the regular season. How did the performance there stack up against the coaches' expectations going into an event like this with so many D1 programs there? And how ultimately they try and take that and go over to Ross on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another program we're peaking at the right time with a lot of our athletes there. Like you said, getting a lot of the podiums. You look at the standings in the CHL. We have a lot of athletes towards the top, 1 through 3. So we're excited about going into this postseason. The Ross tournament, meet is going to be very tough as well. But we saw some really good competition last week, and that's what they keep wanting to build on. We knew that meet was going to be a big one to go into. But if you look at it, on both the girls and boys side, we always talk about our young talent. Someone I don't think we've talked about enough yet is Tula Baker. She's only a freshman. If you look at her 400 times, she's doing a great job. But then Zola Hoffmeister's doing great. Emma Bergman's doing great. We always talk about Zoe Mayberry, Addie Hamilton, freshman Penelope Webb in the high jump. There's a lot of really great things to be excited about with our track team. And then obviously you go to the other side, we talk about Joel Allen, the great season that he's having. He ran into some really tough competition at that meet, but it's good to have him see what it's like at the highest level to compete against, that athlete from East Central who had such a great day. But going into Ross, we feel really good.
How mad was he finishing second in his events to that young man? I saw the results, and that kid from East Central was just unbelievable in both the shot and the discus. What was Joel's reaction coming out of that?
Yeah, I mean, Joel actually took it very well. He knows he wants to compete with the best, and that's where he wants to be. He's right around the 150 mark in discus very consistently, which is great. He's getting to the upper 40s consistently in shot put, but I think being able to see someone who goes out there and puts a bomb out at 170, puts a bomb out at 54 in the shot, you know, he knows that that's where he wants to be to compete at the highest level and get out of regionals this year. So being able to see that and see it in person, see the technique of a thrower like that. He actually had a chance to talk to that student athlete a little bit. I mean, he's a Division I prospect. So being able to compete with those types of guys, I think actually kind of humbled him a little bit, but really in a good way, where he knows, okay, look, that's where I want to be. You know, he's just a junior. He's got time to keep climbing.
And off the top of the dome, how close is he to your school records?
So I don't have the discus, but he's going to get the discus, I'm sure. He's I think right about 10 feet away from the discus record, and he's about 6 feet away from my shot record. But I still expect both those records to be his when it's all said and done.
We'll keep track of that for sure. Switch gears. Let's jump onto the lacrosse field. Let's talk about the girls first. And they've been playing very, very well as of late. They've won 4 in a row, most recently, I should say, this week, beating Summit Country Day 15-1. You get 9 different goal scorers to put up the 15 total. So balance again, like we talked about last week, particularly in the win at CHCA, and then come back 2 days later and beat a very solid Turpin program out of the ECC, doubling them up 12-6. So again, 1-4 in a row here. What's been the difference during this run compared to the start of the year, where it was kind of an up and down type of run?
They're just playing with such confidence. I mean, that Turpin game we knew was going to be a really tough game going into it, and then being able to shut them out in the second half. I mean, Ainsley Bankin just played incredibly well there in goal, and our defense is playing great defense. We had some really great clears from Maggie Simmons, and then we talk about, I think, every single episode that we have, but she warrants that. Victoria Chesson is just taking her game to another level, moving the ball up and down the field, being able to get the ball in the net, and watching them play right now where they're at. That was a big win against Turpin. We have a big one against Indian Hill tonight. But obviously super excited about how the week shook out last week with them.
The way we've seen the balance come in as of late, is it a matter in your mind of the other players on the field, and particularly the other 5 offensive players that you have out there along with Victoria, maybe taking a breath and realizing, okay, we know Victoria is here, and that takes a lot of pressure off of us, and it allows us to just play a lot more free and a lot more loose, and that's why we're seeing these results come in with so many different multiple goal scorers each time out?
Yeah, I think so, but it's also, they relieve pressure off of her as well, and then she elevates play of them being the leader that she is. So being able to move the ball around so well like they do, it's something that they feed off of each other so well, and they're playing as a complete team. And being able to get that win, and like I said, getting the shutout in the second half against a tough team like Turpin, that's a really good way to wrap up the week last week. And we're super excited about the game tonight against Indian Hill.
You've got Indian Hill coming up, I believe, scheduled MND later on in the week on a Saturday afternoon. Are you looking at this as kind of another kind of similar to tennis, kind of a litmus test to where you think you can be as you head into the month of May? Still got several games in the month of May to play, most notably against Loveland coming up on May the 10th, and they're a strong program in Division I. But where do you feel like this team can be at as you head into the month of May?
We got to the regional finals last year against Marymount, and obviously we know how good Marymount is. But we feel like we should get back to where we were last year, and we still want to climb that hill and get past that level. And we know that we have the ability to do it. It's going to be a great test tonight against Indian Hill. Then we have a few days off, which is nice, moving into a really hard one against MND on Saturday. But it's going to be, this week will be a great at the end of the week to see exactly where we are towards the back half of this season and then going to the postseason.
Lastly, here on the show today, I wanted to say this for last to kind of get your kind of thoughts and totality on this. Let's talk about your boys lacrosse. And last Monday, what a game against Seven Hills. We had it on watchhssports.tv, and there was a lot of different ways this game could go. Your team gets down 5-0 at the end of the first quarter. And, I'm on the call of it, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh boy, are we going to get like a running clock situation? Because to be honest, your team was completely flat coming out to start. I thought the energy just was not there. So they come out that whatever, I'd love to know whatever the coaching staff said to the boys between the first and the second quarter, because from there, they came out like a brand new team. You chip away, chip away, chip away at it, and you finally get over the hump and finally wind up winning it in the last 2 minutes of the game, winning the game 10-8. Take us just through the start of that game, getting down, and the message to the boys from the coaching staff that turned it around.
Well, you said it. I mean, they came out flat. We got down 5-0 really fast, and then be able to come back and outscore them 10-3 for the rest of the game, especially coming out of the half. Coach Sawyer does a really good job of just keeping their confidence up and making sure they realize what they can do. And the game has, you reach half, there's still so much time left, and we know how fast things can change in the cross. And we do a really good job. I mean, Coleman Jeffers coming up the field, Dozier Ambrose being able to move the ball around. Those guys have been playing so tough. And Jackson Palermo in goal, I mean, what he's been able to do has been fantastic. It was kind of like a switch happened where, you look at where that team was last year. I don't know if we win that game last year, if, down 5-0 like that. But they just have a great attitude about them this year, knowing we can play with anybody. And then that showed going into LaSalle on Friday night and beating LaSalle like we did. I mean, that's another really great win going into this week. We got a tough one going up to Franklin here this evening. We got 3 games this week that we know are going to be tough. But man, it was a really kind of a turning point last week, being able to see what we could do coming back against a tough team in Seven Hills. Especially, you're down 5-0 against anybody. That's going to be a tall task to climb, and being able to do that was a really big step.
A couple of things that stood out to me as the game went along is that, one, Dozier Ambrose was not a major factor offensively for your team. He scored just 1 goal, did not record an assist. He had some nice work in transition, also had some important draw control wins. But you mentioned Coleman Jeffers. He had 4 goals in this game. He also had 4 against LaSalle. Jackson Palermo in goal as a freshman, 11 saves against Seven Hills. I think he had 19 against LaSalle. So he's playing well there. But also, about Gabriel Scruggs giving a hat trick against Seven Hills. Again, a freshman. Maybe he doesn't know he doesn't know what he doesn't know, but came in and played like a savvy veteran. I thought he was as big as anybody was in this Seven Hills game for your team.
Yeah, Gabe really was. I mean, he moves so well with the ball. He's very athletic. Being just a freshman, we're so excited about that. It's a pretty young team for our boys lacrosse. We know we have some great youth players coming up as well. But what's great is the older guys know they can get the ball to Gabe and have full trust in him, just as if he was a veteran player anytime that he has the ball in his hands. I mean, you watch the game. He doesn't come out of the game much. He plays a lot. He's a big factor in this team. Noah Popovich had a great game as well. You can go down the line. I mean, Seth Thompson's playing fantastic on defense. You can just see that they're starting to come together more and more as a team, and that really showed last week. So this week, having 3 game schedules, it's a big busy week. They're all on the road, and but hey, we're up to the task to see what we're going to be about towards the end of the season and going into postseason.
How big of a step do you think it was for this young team to win the way they did against Seven Hills and against LaSalle, and not have your leader Dozier Ambrose be a big scoring factor offensively for you? He had just 3 goals combined in the 2 games in which you put 23 in the net. So you've got 20 goals coming from everybody else. But how big was that for the other guys to see that they don't have to rely on Dozier to get the job done, to put the ball in the net and ultimately win?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of liken it to where we're at with the girls program as well, really playing as a complete team. They know that they can move the ball around. And it's really a testament also to Dozier, because he elevates the play of the guys around him. He's a great leader, along with Coleman Jeffers being a great leader on that team. Kobe Bernstein, fantastic leader. They love to pass the ball around and get everyone involved. I think we talked about it last week when Coleman Jeffers scored a great goal from an assist off of Dozier Ambrose the week before. And the first thing he said when he came off was, man, what a great pass that was. That's where this team is going to be very unselfish, and they know what they can do when they have the great teamwork. And Coach Sawyer has done a great job kind of instilling that in them, making sure that they know they're never out of the fight. And that was a big turning point, I think, where we can be with this program with those 2 big wins last week.
And you mentioned the schedule coming up. It's a lot of miles to be built up on the road coming up here, and with, as you said, with Franklin, Carroll, and Madeira coming up this week, and obviously we've got 3 more on the road next week, and the next couple of weeks, I should say, to finish out the regular season. How much confidence do you feel like they're playing with right now, with coming off the Seven Hills comeback, and then to follow it up and not allow a hangover to happen? And as you said, go on the road and beat a GCL squad in LaSalle the way they did and really take them out of it, beating them by 10.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing probably with the highest confidence that they've had all season. We actually kind of see it happen a little bit when we were able to get the win against Bellbrook, a bigger school, and move forward. We've been able to rattle off a couple really nice wins with this team that, like I said, it just goes back to teamwork and them knowing what they can do as a team. There's not a lot of individuals on that team. You know, they want to get everyone involved and everyone playing, and they celebrate together. And they take it on the chin together when that happens also. But right now we're excited about where they're at. They have very good confidence going into this week, and they're going to need it with 3 tough games. So we're excited to see how this goes.
Peaking at the right time, they are, as are seemingly almost every one of your programs, if not all of your programs right now in the spring season. So it's a great time to be a Cowboys fan and be involved in the program for sure. Fans out there, if you're interested in the summer camps, again, wyomingathletics.org is where you can find that information. Jeff, great talking to you once again, and looking forward to it next week and keeping the momentum going.
Jason, much appreciated. Always a good time, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. That is Wyoming Assistant Athletic Director Jeff King joining us once again for the Inside Wyoming Cowboys Athletics podcast here on wyomingathletics.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.